The ground beneath Buckingham Palace shook tonight. A line that seemed unbreakable has finally been crossed. Prince Andrew, Duke of York, has announced that he is giving up all his titles and honours, a voluntary surrender that detonated across Britain and the Commonwealth like a political earthquake. The statement dropped without warning. No leaks, no build-up, no soft transition. Just a stark confession that has now set the monarchy on fire. In discussion with the King and my immediate and wider family, we have concluded the continued accusations about me distract from the work of His Majesty and the royal family. I have decided, as I always have, to put my duty to my family and country first. I will therefore no longer use my title or the honours which have been conferred upon me. As I have said previously, I vigorously deny the accusations against me. The words landed like a thunderclap. Years of denial, decades of privilege, all erased in one document that read like a royal obituary of reputation. Inside royal circles, the announcement tore through centuries of protocol. It was more than a resignation. It was self-erasure. The son of a monarch has stripped himself of everything that tethered him to the institution that once protected him. The statement came just before midnight, timed to dominate headlines worldwide before the palace could even begin to manage the fallout. Phones buzzed across Westminster, Downing Street, and the royal press offices. Within minutes, the story eclipsed every other headline in Europe. The once untouchable Duke is now, effectively, no one inside the royal structure. No HRH, no Duke of York, no honorary ranks, just Andrew, a man walking out of royal life and into history's cold spotlight. Though the statement avoided direct mention of confrontation, palace sources confirm the truth. This was the end of a long, quiet struggle between brothers. The king demanded clarity, the public demanded closure, and tonight, both got what they wanted. Behind palace doors, the conversations were said to be sharp, sorrowful, and final. King Charles, battling to preserve what's left of public trust in a battered monarchy, could no longer absorb the noise surrounding his brother. The message was simple: step down, or risk pulling the monarchy with you. Andrew stepped down. The crown survived another day, but at a cost no one inside those walls can yet measure. The reaction was instant and electric. Within minutes, broadcast anchors interrupted programming with the same headline: Prince Andrew renounces all titles. In pubs, trains, and offices, the conversations flared. This was no ordinary royal story. This was the stripping away of centuries of privilege wrapped in a single moment of reckoning. Crowds gathered at Buckingham Palace, not in celebration, not in anger, but in disbelief. Some whispered it was too late, others said it was too much. Every opinion was raw, every emotion divided. The monarchy, always a mirror to Britain's conscience, was now staring back at a nation asking whether bloodlines still matter when accountability calls. The logistics will be brutal. Military commands revoked, patronages dissolved, correspondence changed, insignia withdrawn. Every document, every web page, every plaque bearing the title "The Duke of York" will now be revised. The palace machine will move quickly, silently, to erase the name from the machinery of state. For an institution obsessed with continuity, this is dismemberment by decree. Once a royal name is stripped from its roles, it doesn't return. The crown has chosen survival over sentiment. By dawn, communications teams from Buckingham, Kensington, and Clarence House were in emergency session. The agenda: control the narrative before the world rewrites it first. One aide described the atmosphere bluntly: chaos in slow motion. Phones rang non-stop, press secretaries huddled. Nothing could soften the fact that a son of the late Queen had effectively self-exiled. The royal family's digital channels went silent. No statements from the King, no words from the Prince of Wales, no official comment from anyone close to the monarch. The silence itself became the message, the House of Windsor letting the storm rage without interference. In New York, CNN cut into regular programming. In Sydney, ABC called it the monarchy's most humiliating collapse since Edward VIII. French outlets ran the headline, Le Prince effacé, the erased prince. Across the Atlantic, commentators debated the meaning. Was this accountability or desperation, a royal cleansing, or a family implosion? The United States, long fascinated by the contradictions of the British monarchy, now watched the disintegration of its old certainties. This was not the glamour of royal weddings or jubilees. This was the slow unravelling of empire-era privilege, televised in real time. No statement from King Charles, no image released, just an absence that said everything. Sources say the king spent the night at Clarence House, reviewing draft statements, none of which he approved. The palace understands that whatever is said now will be dissected word by word, so they say nothing. But within the family, the tone is unmistakable. This is the end of tolerance. Every scandal chips at the crown's foundation, but this one cuts deep. The monarchy's greatest power has always been illusion, dignity above politics, stability above chaos. Tonight, that illusion cracked. The royal machine, built on secrecy and control, could not contain the eruption. Public trust, already fragile, has been scorched again. The images of jubilee smiles and balcony waves feel like relics from another age. Inside Britain's corridors of power, lawmakers are whispering what was once unthinkable. Can the monarchy survive another blow like this? From Manchester to Glasgow, from Cardiff to Belfast, the question echoed the same way. What happens now? No one knows. But the public's verdict was loud. The crown, once untouchable, now stands on a knife's edge of relevance. Online, the reaction split between those who saw justice and those who saw collapse. End of an era trended alongside royal accountability. The monarchy's defenders scrambled to restore dignity. Its critics called it vindication. The institution built on silence has met a world that demands explanation, and this time, there isn't one. By evening, Windsor Castle's halls were quiet. The military uniforms, medals, and portraits that once symbolized royal power now hang in the shadow of resignation. Staff members, speaking anonymously, described the mood as funeral-like. A name that once commanded ceremony now carries only controversy. There will be no farewell procession, no royal salute, just the slow administrative act of deletion, one title at a time. The Guardian called it a reckoning long deferred. The Times labelled it a self-inflicted royal implosion. The New York Times described it as the monarchy confronting its own limits in the age of accountability. Even tabloids that once defended him have turned. Front pages screamed the last straw, royal no more, the fall of York. This is not just scandal, it is institutional trauma, delivered under the full glare of a digital century that forgets nothing. Every royal crisis is also a story about memory. Tonight, the question of legacy looms heavy over the monarchy's gilded gates. What happens when the symbols of loyalty, duty, and lineage are stripped bare? For the palace, the answer is survival through sacrifice. For the public, it is proof that titles mean nothing when truth is demanded. For generations, the British monarchy existed behind layers of ceremony, a fortress built on tradition. But today, that fortress cracked. Andrew's decision to step away from everything royal is not a quiet act of humility. It is a forced surrender to reality. No court ruling, no parliamentary act. Just pressure so immense that even the palace walls could not contain it. The titles that once shielded him have turned into a burden too heavy for the institution to bear. And so, they are gone. The king now faces the hardest balancing act of his reign. He must steady a monarchy that has lost another pillar, another name, another claim to unity. The crown's image, already strained by the departure of Prince Harry and Meghan, now faces a crisis of its own making. Every royal scandal leaves a scar. This one leaves a crater. The palace will try to project stability. There will be smiling photos, charity visits, state banquets. But underneath, the tremor remains. From foreign embassies to global media networks, the British monarchy has once again become the story that refuses to die. Diplomats describe this as the most significant royal event since the abdication of Edward VIII in 1936, not in formality, but in symbolism. Back then, a king gave up his crown for love. Tonight, a prince gives up his titles for survival. The difference is telling. The monarchy is no longer an unshakable empire. It is a brand battling its own history. Late tonight, photographers stationed near Royal Lodge caught sight of a solitary figure leaving the gates. No uniform, no insignia, no escort. Just the quiet sound of tyres on wet gravel. The last drive of a man who once stood at the centre of royal ceremony. The gates closed behind him. The lights of Windsor dimmed. And Britain, watching from screens across the world, realised it had just witnessed the quietest, coldest fall in royal history. The palace may issue statements tomorrow. Officials may try to redirect focus. But tonight, the world has already written its headline, "A Prince No More." There will be debates, documentaries, investigations, and analysis for years to come. But the core truth remains unchanged. A royal era ended not with fanfare, but with a single sentence typed in silence. Titles vanish, crowns endure. But the echo of this night will haunt the House of Windsor long after the ink dries.
The submission itself sounds nice. And to my amazing and peculiar Sussex family, thank you all for watching our videos and tuning in to Daily Diaries Fridays update. Keep it light, keep it there, and see you next time in our next episode. Bye bye. May you have a good day and a good time. Keep shining. Bye bye.